Quick disclaimer, this video is 50% serious and 50% satire. Now, is this video clickbait? Yes, it is. Do I have an opposite opinion to the Woowa community in order to gain views? Well, kind of. So basically, unless you've been living under a rock, you'll know that the new Whimpering Waste reset has received a lot of negative feedback, mainly for its difficulty and its unintended bugs. I'm not going to defend the bugs, like waves taking multiple seconds to spawn in or somehow getting stuck climbing the enemies, but I will say that the current difficulty of Whimpering Waste is pretty good. Now you have to keep in mind that Whimpering Waste is designed to be an endgame mode, which means not everyone should be passing this stuff first try, and I'm glad that I didn't pass with max score first try, because lately Wuthering Waves content has been pretty dry since there's no appeal to more challenging things. Other forms of endgame content like holograms and Tower of Adversity are easily passable once you play the game long enough. And if you can't get a score high enough to claim all the rewards in Whimpering Waste, it's not the end of the world. If you have ever played any competitive shooter like Valorant, CSGO, or R6, you know how long it takes to get out of the bottom ranks. It can take months if it's your first shooter game. Granted, I'm not saying Whimpering Waste should have that same level of difficulty as a competitive shooter game, but I don't think you should be passing all endgame content if you've only been playing for like 2 months, because that would just make the game boring. Obviously, it's going to be harder for casual players to get a higher score on this Whimpering Waste, but that's the whole point of being casual. You just play when you feel like it, and you play for the enjoyment of the game. A few lost astrites shouldn't be too bothersome. And to be clear, the new Whimpering Waste isn't exactly a skill issue, even though it is sometimes. And I say this because the biggest thing I see people complain about is enemy grouping, and the enemies taking a trip to Atlantis while ignoring you, which makes it harder to clear waves. And that's understandable, especially if you don't have any AoE characters. And I do think that the AI should be changed for those enemies. However, the good thing is that it gives more incentive to pay attention to what's happening on your screen. So for example, I know that a lot of people memorize rotations for certain team compositions and whatnot, but in my opinion, what's the point of a combat-based game if you just memorize rotations? It just completely removes the creativity aspect of a combat game. You don't go into a Super Smash Bros. Tournament and have the same exact input every round. Instead, you play according to your opponent's moves and your opponent's weaknesses. Of course, there are combos that you remember, like a down throw into a neutral air or etc., but your matches aren't the same every round. It's like that one meme of, oh guys, look how helpful aim training is, and then you proceed to click imaginary dots on your screen in the middle of a gunfight. Basically, enemies not grouping forces players to come up with more creative methods instead of scripting every fight. And in my opinion, I just don't think that you should be clearing everything as a new player, you know? At the bare minimum, you should get a passing score if you've been playing for like 2 months maybe. That would give you like 2 limited characters maybe. And actually, to prove this point, I'm just gonna play a quick one right here. I'll just use some of the commonly used characters. Guess I'll use Yang Yang and Rover Havoc and Camellia then. First team, I'll probably use Shang Liao, Arena Yang Yang maybe? And of course, we're abusing Plunderer. And for the second half, I'll just use Spidey maybe, just because I don't want to use Shorekeeper, since I know a lot of people don't have her, even though she's broken. Rover Havoc and Camellia. Let's see. So started off with Farina's E, and then Echo, and probably Yang Yang E, Shang Liao E. We'll just see how it goes. This is what I mean by that. They can get pretty spaced out, which is annoying. That's understandable, but realistically, it doesn't really matter too much unless you're trying to max this, get SS, triple S. See how it took a bit for the waves to spawn? Yeah, that definitely needs to be fixed for sure. There we go. So that was my first attempt. And it's not even that bad. 2070. Like, actually, I forgot what the minimum. I think the minimum score was like 3,500 for a B, and then 4,000 for A. And this could obviously be optimized. I think if you've been playing for 2 months, you probably have better characters than these. I don't even know what this team comp is, but since we're abusing the plunder token, it's gonna be like a spam heal comp. I don't know. But we're just kind of gonna do the same thing again as we did last round. Spinny, spinny. And the chop chops are going to Africa, you can see. As you can see, it was like the bare minimum for passing, which I think should be possible within about 2 months of playing, I guess. I actually had to pay attention more to what was happening to the enemies on the screen because they would just sometimes wander off into nothing for some reason. But I definitely do like the difficulty of the Whimpering Waste minus the bugs, obviously. And I keep saying that because I know someone's gonna take something out of context. And last thing I also wanted to mention, if you've played for like a decent amount of time, maybe like, well, Wuthering Waves has been out for almost a whole year, I think, like January, February, March, April. So it's like, what, like 10 months old? But if you've been playing for like half of that time, you should be able to get at least SS, I would say. If you play for like 3 to 4 months, maybe probably max score, or not max score, but the single S. And that would give you, where's the rewards? 75 asteroids, plus 50. Like, missing out on 50 to 100 asteroids isn't really a big deal. It's literally 2 days worth of dailies, less even. It is unfortunate that they didn't fix some of the bugs and introduce new bugs, but that's just how it is. That can easily be fixed, you know? But anyways, that's just my opinion on the new Whimpering Waste. Anyways, bye.